So, hi, Jox. Lovely to see you again. We met each other in New York a couple of weeks ago, and it was beautiful weather. I totally remember it. So, thank you for coming on our platform and for telling your story. So, my first question is tell us about yourself and what you do, Jox.
Well, hello, Anna. It's lovely to see you again. Yes, it was a great day in New York. Clear skies, sunny, everything. I'm Jox. I'm currently the lead strategist for everything luxury, fashion, and beauty at Essence MediaCom.
And how did you get there?
Oh, it's a bit of a long story, but I shall take you through the highlights. I'm Essence Media Compass is great mobility program where they assign you to different countries and markets, and you get a full experience. So fortunately for me, I've been a recipient of that in the last decade. So I started in our Kuala Lumpur office in Malaysia, and I handled our Procter and Gamble business there. At that time, initially I had a hard time getting a visa as an expat because the government said I was too young to be an expat. But fortunately, my colleagues and my superiors, really pushed for it, and so I got the right papers to start working there. So I was there for 3 years. It was an amazing time and learned so much about the culture. It's a very diverse country. And then I moved to our London HQ where I handled global prestige business for Procter and Gamble Prestige and eventually Coty. Again, learned so much, not just from a global perspective, but also discovering the multifaceted aspects of the European market. And then seems to be a 3 year streak. I got a chance again to move, and I said, why not New York? I'm already in London, and New York is the best place to really realize my full potential. And so I'm here. I've been here since 2019, experienced COVID here. So that
Wow.
was very interesting to see New York in a very different way. And then yeah, I've had a great time and I'm enjoying what I do. I love what I do to begin with. So that's been my story. I'm originally from the Philippines. I started in the client side when I was there, part of the corporate management program for Nestle, intern for 9 months at Unilever. So it's been a great ride.
I know, but any pitfalls on the way? Because it seems like an amazing story, but any pitfalls you can talk about and to our listeners and how you navigated them.
Well, pitfalls would be really navigating a new market
Mm-hmm.
because of course you come with your own narrative, your own background, your own upbringing, and even your own ideas and perspectives. So I was relatively young when I left the country. I was just by myself. I didn't know anyone when I moved to Malaysia, and I did not know if I would integrate well and be accepted in the first place. So that was really a journey of self-realization, of self-determination, because um being from the Philippines, it's more homogeneous. Your path is pretty much paved, and of course there's a sense of comfort there. So when I moved to Malaysia, I had to adjust a lot, understand the culture, understand the traditions, and how the market dynamics were, and of course, creating my own contacts, um, navigating that place, how to speak with people. Um, and then eventually, I made a breakthrough that by the time I left Malaysia, my 20 friends showed up at the airport, and we were all crying because I've made lifelong connections with my Malaysian friends whom I thought, would only see me as someone different and a foreigner, and someone who's an outsider. But that wasn't the case. They fully embraced me, and I made a family out of them, and I'm still in contact with them as well. And the same thing happened in London, actually. Like, I just candidly said, of course I can move to London. I speak English. Um, surprise. I was there, and for the first 6 months, that was a very different culture for me. Um, of course, I spoke English. I understood what they were saying, but there were some nuances and meanings that I had to understand. Um, and again, it took me 6 months to really understand what I was doing, and I doubted myself a lot about being there. Yeah, and again, navigating the industry, navigating the culture, and my friend from Venezuela, Alba, she was the one who helped me navigate being in London, because she herself and her family were uprooted from where they were, and she had to start over, and she knew how it felt, and she told me that, like, I know how it feels. So I hope it gets a bit better for you with me being here, and I appreciate her. I hope she knows this, but um the pitfalls were shocking, and sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, there were instances of discrimination. I've never doubted myself as a female, as a woman, but of course there were some racial dynamics as well. Even in Asia, there's a stratification of
Mm.
different Asians as well. Not all the time, such that it affected my quality of life, but sometimes when it happens, it kind of shocks you a little bit. You're like, oh, this is how they think of us, of me, and based on a stereotype, or based on, I don't know what they know about the Filipinos, etc. So you have to navigate that, but at the same time, if I turned them into opportunities to educate someone, and vice
Mm.
versa, just such that when I left these countries, most of my friends said that you have made me realize of things, and you've made me real open up in a few ways. So someone even told me candidly before I left New York that you make me realize how privileged I am without even trying. And
Mm.
I'm like, well, that's great, because I'm not the type to be like, I'm not preachy about it. I'm not the type who would rub it in your face. But apparently he realized that, because whenever we were at the border and I would take a little bit longer, because obviously I don't have a European passport, those things are relatively short. 5 minutes to me is short compared to all of my 3 hour trips and like lines and immigration and stuff like that. But that small, like that short time is seen as an inconvenience for other
Yeah,
people, and
yeah.
that's how they realize that they're privileged. And I didn't know they've been observing that much,
Mm.
so
Mm.
um
Interesting.
yeah, it was really interesting.
So what's your main motivator and your top qualities, you
My
think?
Yeah, I tend to say this. I approach things gratefully and gracefully. So
Yes.
the grit really comes from my upbringing. My grandmother, my mom, and all the women in my family, they're quite ambitious, self-made, and they really know who they are. Um, and so I remember particularly my mom saying, like, it doesn't matter if you are the smartest. If you don't have guts, then you don't know how to get opportunities for yourself.
Mm.
So
Nice.
what she didn't want to happen was I would be this quiet and
Good
meek
girl.
person. Yeah, I'm smart, but I don't know how to advocate for myself.
Mm.
And she'd rather give me the smarts, the street smarts,
Yeah, it's important.
yeah, to forge opportunities and forge paths for me.
Mm.
And that, up to this day, is something that I hold dearly, because that has enabled me to navigate the world and not be intimidated despite setbacks and pitfalls, to your point, and deem myself worthy. um because at the end of the day, if you are like potential. If you're just all potential bottled up and you don't know how to self-actualize, then it's wasted. So that was my mom's main point for me.
Nice. I like
Mhm.
that. So what are you most proud of to date?
Ooh, yeah. It took me some time to be proud of myself despite my achievements. Apparently I have this thing called trophy mindset. So it could be a cultural thing, but in most families in the Philippines, um, whenever you enter their homes, there's like a big glass case, a cabinet, and they display all their children's achievements, trophies,
Like your
diplomas,
parents, there wouldn't be much in terms of school.
diplomas and
Yeah,
medals
yeah.
and stuff like that. So if you're brought up that way, that you need to see your achievements in tactile ways, then that's how you navigate life. And anything that doesn't give you a medal, you feel like it's not a real achievement.
Okay,
So for me, my real achievement is being proud of myself despite the medals or the
good.
trophies and etc.
No more medals needed.
Exactly. But from a professional standpoint, I was recently invited to talk at the Philippine consulate here in New York to talk about um, my journey in business. And I sat alongside women as well in technology and business. And I realized that, oh my gosh, I am successful not because I've achieved these things. I'm successful because I have a success story to impart and inspire these people with.
Mm.
A lot of my um, fellow Filipinos approached me after and said that thank you so much for making me realize that it is possible to achieve these things in the
Mm.
corporate world. And I never really evaluated that type of impact because I've been focused on my own journey.
Mm.
Um, and I think moving forward, it is really what I want to do. It's to show people that there are possibilities for us in the corporate world. Filipinos are diasporic by nature. Um, there are millions of Filipinos outside of the country working in different
Yeah.
industries. And sometimes, my dad as well is one of those. He was an expat all his life, but the way he approaches work is very different from mine. Like he would say, like, don't ask for too much because it's already enough that they've given you an opportunity to be there.
Mm.
And for the longest time, should I or should I not? And today I'm like, I am very grateful for people who have empowered me and asked me and taught me how to ask for my worth, because it's not enough that you're there. You should also get what you deserve, because you're there in the first place because you deserve it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a really good tip for other women. Do you have any more?
For women, I mean, yeah, I this is something that I learned as well when I left the Philippines more than a decade ago, because in the Philippines it's more gender equal. You just grow up being exposed to women doing not just domesticated things, like they do business,
Mm.
politics. My teachers were tour de forces, like tour de force in our upbringing, etc. So, but at the same time, you didn't have to be like super alpha. There was something nurturing but
Yeah.
empowering at the same
Yeah.
time. Also, we are taught that there are female heroes in our history.
Mm.
So one of them, for example, is this woman Gabriela Silang, who fought alongside her husband on a horse with a bolo, and it's in statues everywhere, in textbooks everywhere. So imagine a kid seeing that. You will never doubt that you cannot do anything
Oh, that's
as
nice.
a girl, because
Mm.
it's there. And all throughout history as well, they would, this woman who would put a lipstick on while fighting, the Japanese occupation in World War II. And again, it gives you permission. Of course, you can wear lipstick while fighting for
Nice. I
the
like that.
country. So in a way, it is a privilege to have grown up that way, that you don't think that you are not capable because you're female. In fact, when something that I encountered here in the US, like, you need to teach girls that they can do anything, and I was like, you mean you're not told that? Like, what do
Yeah,
you
it's
mean
interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that about the Philippines.
Yeah, and then yeah, so for I think it's an exercise that, imagine waking up every day that you didn't have any obstacles. It is hard. It is hard. But I also just consume content from women who've made it, especially Filipino women. Um yeah, and sometimes I just listen to snippets of Filipina politicians with their quotable quotes. Like, there's this late senator, she's from my hometown, Miriam Defensor Santiago. And she has this quote like, "Oh, I don't carry a handbag because just in case I need to slap someone, I need to have my hands free." And like, she was just so fearless, and she's so smart, and she's legislated a lot of things in the country.
But
Um,
you wake up every morning pretending there are no obstacles.
um, yes,
I like
from
that.
yeah, pretending like, how that thing like, oh, what would you do if money was no object? Like, it's the same. What would you do if gender or ethnicity or
Yeah.
discrimination was no object? What would you do? Um, in my case, like, it's a privilege. I don't have to think about that from a gender standpoint, but there are other things, of course. But um, I think because I also grew up in a homogeneous society, I also don't have that mindset as much, because I talk to my Asian American friends here, for example, and they have a very different mindset, and I try to um, really understand that standpoint as well, because that's where the diversity comes in as well, like the diversity of upbringing, of backgrounds and
Mhm.
thought, really. So I'm more after that, to be honest, because sometimes you can look in similar ways with other people, but they could be totally different from you because of that. And that also creates more depth to you understanding the person.
Yeah, I like that. We only have a couple of minutes left, so I want to just ask about your plans and dreams for the future, Jocks.
Wow. I I want to be an author and speaker in
Mhm.
the grand scheme of things. I love what I do at the moment. I love being a strategist. I love figuring things out, and I love the luxury industry as a whole. Um, but on the side, and eventually in the bigger scheme of things, as I get older and more sure about what I want to do, um, I do want to write more, and I do want to impart my story more to inspire more people. Um, and that probably makes sense now why my mom sent me to you know performing school after, and not to like more math and sciences, because she said I needed to have more soft skills, and that has worked out in a way. But yeah, that's my bigger thing, like, just really empower more people, um create the narrative, diversify the narrative. To Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's words, there's danger in a single narrative, right? And we need to diversify that. We need to tell more narratives so we change perspectives, and I would like to have that type of impact in any way that I can.
Nice. So you need a speaking agent and you need a book agent and you need to write the book.
Yes, yes, and yeah, and you already inspired us at Shine.
Oh,
so
thank you.
So you said, what would be the title of your book? And I'm gonna stick to it. 5 foot audacity. So
Yeah.
navigating the tall world. I think that's one of my obstacles as well. Waking up every day. What would I do if I could just reach things physically and metaphorically?
Well, thank you, Jox. That was really insightful. Thanks a lot for coming on our platform and for sharing your stories.
Thank you so much, Anna. And I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for having me.